I'm super excited to welcome you to our ChildFriendly webinar. I'm Wayne, and I will be hosting this session. Today, our guest speaker is our founder, Laura Bancroft. Okay, let's take a look at the agenda for today. First, I will introduce Laura. Then I will pass to her to present ChildFriendly, what inspired it, an overview of the platform, then dive right into our main topic on attendance and Alberta-specific compliance tools, followed by where we're headed in the future. We will then have our Q&A at the end. If you refer to the top of your meeting screen, you will see an icon that's called Q&A. Simply click this icon to type and submit your questions, and I will organize and ask them at the end of the presentation. Great. Let's start with an introduction to Laura. She has significant experience in the child care industry, rising to the constant demands of regulatory changes and tackling growth as she grew from overseeing 100 to now over 2,000 childcare spaces. She has led the design of ChildFriendly from start to finish, building meaningful solutions for daycare operators to adapt quickly to external changes in the environment and also thrive by improving internal operational efficiency and reducing costs. For some quick fun facts, Laura is a mother of 11 children, adores audiobooks, and exploring the great outdoors. I will now pass to Laura to present ChildFriendly. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I really appreciate you coming today to this webinar, and thank you, Wayne, for that introduction. Yeah, I want to just kind of quickly go through a little bit of the inspiration and why I started ChildFriendly. So as Wayne mentioned, I am a childcare operator, and I essentially had been on a number of kind of competing softwares I had been using, and really nothing was really working for us, especially as the government started to get a lot more admin heavy with the new audits coming, with the claim systems continuously changing, subsidies now being 80% or so of revenue, things like that. We really needed something that was going to streamline regulations and reporting and all of that, as opposed to us having to hire more and more office administrative staff. So a number of years ago, I guess it was around COVID time, we could see all these kind of changes coming our way, and CWELC was being talked about and things like that. And so yeah, we decided to expand and create our own software system that we could then offer to other Alberta operators as well. And so we did that, and ChildFriendly was born. So we really wanted to make sure, this is kind of my baby, and that I wanted to make sure that it really does everything that an operator would want. And so it was built by an operator myself. Obviously, I didn't build it. We have an incredible development team, but I oversaw the design and all the different features that we want and how we want them to work in every little detail. So I really wanted this to work and to really help streamline the process here in Alberta. So let's jump in. Today, we're going to talk specifically about kind of some of the compliance side, attendance tracking, how all of that works with ChildFriendly. But I just want to be clear that ChildFriendly, especially those that haven't attended webinars in the past with us, that ChildFriendly is an all-in-one platform. It does everything. So we're going to be talking about attendance today, but attendance is obviously not the only thing that we do. We do complete financial management, billing, invoicing, payments, all through EFT and auto payments from their bank accounts, credit card payments, e-transfers, all of that can happen directly in the software. You don't need some other third-party system for that. We do registration online. We do what's called a smart registration system so that you can keep your centers full. Parents can just go online. It's very easy. They can see exactly if there's spaces in whichever program. They can register for them. You can approve them on your end or put them in the wait list accordingly, so you're not relying on your kind of front office admin staff so much. The software does a lot of that for you. We have the parent communication app so that you can send those daily reports and so on to parents. And the parents can log in, they can make payments directly in their portal, things like that. We have reports, and we'll go through a few of the reports today as far as they're related to compliance with Alberta licensing, but we've got all the reports you could possibly want, and even the ability to make custom reports as well. And we have staff management, HR, and of course the family management. So I guess the real point of this is that we really are an all-in-one platform. You shouldn't need a bunch of different kind of softwares piecing them all together to make it work for you. You can just use ChildFriendly and we will essentially have everything covered. But today, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically on compliance. So I'm actually just going to jump in directly to our software here. So I'm going to open our software screen and we're going to talk today about attendance and go through some of the more specific tools that we have in ChildFriendly that are related to childcare licensing. And I guess that is one point I do want to make too, is that our commitment at ChildFriendly is to always be on top of changes at the provincial, at the government level. So whenever there is changes to licensing, regulations, how grants work, all of that, we are in front of it. We know right away instantly about it, and we will make sure that your software is updated accordingly. And that's really important. We tailor this software specifically to Alberta and specifically to the needs of Alberta childcare centers. So you can rest assured that when changes happen, you don't have to do a bunch of juggling to try to figure out a new system to deal with those changes. We will make sure that you're ready to go. So first of all, I'm in a demo center right now. So obviously this is all just demo data, fake data as far as the children and things like that in here. And we are logged in right now to the administrative view of the ChildFriendly platform. Quick little orientation on the left-hand side here, you're going to see a menu with kind of the different options that you have, or modules we call them. So you've got at the top here, you've got what we call the dashboard. That's kind of your it's kind of like almost like a bookmarked place where your admin staff will spend a fair bit of their time dealing with enrollment, onboarding enrollment for new children, a bunch of things we'll kind of talk about in a minute. I'll show you a few of those features. Then you've got your attendance module. This is where there's an iPad view for this, or a tablet view. So your staff in the rooms and so on can use it to sign children in and out of the different spaces or rooms that you have. And then, of course, we're looking at the computer admin view right now. And so we'll come back to attendance in a minute and talk a little bit more about it. There's the families module. This is essentially storing all of your family's information. You can go in there anytime, look up children, guardians, look into their financial ledgers, look at their personal reports, the daily reports that you send out, like kind of like a Facebook feed, almost a daily report feed about their children, pictures, videos, things like that. There's your staff HR module, so where you're going to store all your staff's information, and there's different features in there. Communicate, that's your email communication to parents. It's also your journal entries that you do, those daily reports I mentioned, you're going to do them from there. Finance module, that's kind of your bulk finances. So when you're processing your invoices and payments and things like that. And then there's reports, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then setup here is just for kind of a one-time place that you go to set up your fees and different things to get yourself all ready to go. And then the last one is the kiosk. For those of you that use a kiosk system to sign in, where there's like a screen or an iPad at the front office and parents come in and put in a PIN, that's what that is, the kiosk mode right there. So along the top, you've got your main organization, you've got your center drop down. So if you have multiple centers, it's all right here. You can easily switch between them. And then this is just a kind of quick communication with parents. And then you've got, of course, your profile. All right, so now that you've had a little orientation, we're going to jump right into attendance and kind of show you a little bit more on how compliance works with attendance and tracking and all the different features that we have here. So first thing you're going to notice in the attendance screen is you've got a scene view and you've got a card view. This card view is new. We just released it, so you can see it's got a little beta stamp on there. But the scene view, these are just the exact same things, same features, but two different views. So the scene view I really like for more of your administrative staff. So if you're at your computer, I find this view really handy. You can, with this little edit icon, you can move these spaces and customize them however you want. What we do at some of our centers is we actually have it follow the floor plan. So we'll kind of make the same layout as we have on our floor plan. And essentially these are all the spaces. So you have your bears homeroom space, classroom, your dragons classroom, your gym, and then you'll have other spaces like transportation spaces. So when they are on a bus, you'll have your different vans or buses set up, your kitchen. So these obviously you don't have children go in these, but you still have staff in these spaces, your office and so on. So this you can customize it however you want. I also really like, you can see there's different colors here. So you can see green right now. When you see a green space, it means everything's compliant with licensing standards. So it means you're in ratio, that you have no kind of issues with mixed groups, mixed licenses or things like that. Maybe you don't have infants mixed with children they're not allowed to be mixed with, things like that. So all according to the Alberta regulations there. And so that's green. So you're happy as an administrator, you can at a glance see instantly that, oh, these rooms are happy, they're green, everything is good. There's a few other things you can see at this view, and you can see how many groups you have in there. That's, we call them teams. That's this little icon here. So we've got one kind of group. Group is considered, or a team is considered max group size in accordance with Alberta licensing. And then, so you could theoretically have more than one team or group in a space at a time. So if you're in a gym, maybe you have two different groups. But of course, we need to make sure for our licensing officers, they understand how they're grouped. So you're never going over that max group size. Then you've got your number of staff that are signed in and your number of children. So you can see in here, we've got 5 out of 30 children. There's 30 allowed to physically be in this space. That's what our program plan with licensing has. And we've got 1 staff signed in, 1 max group, so 1 group there. So those are kind of a little bit on the icon. Some other really neat things you can see right here is this icon with somebody waving. So there's a little person waving here. That means you have an extra staff that's not needed for ratio. Our admin staff love this. They can just look at this view at any time and they can see instantly where they have any staff that are kind of hiding and not really needed in ratio, but maybe are wanting to be in there, or just not really letting the office know that they're available. And then you have a room over here you can see is red. Red means there's a ratio problem, or a big problem, as in there's something non-compliant with licensing. In this case, it's a ratio issue where there's a staff missing. And so you can say, oh no, I have a room over here that's red. I need to call this room and ask this extra staff to go sign in there to, deal with whatever while I adjust my staff schedule. So really handy for admin to kind of keep track of all that at a glance. As I mentioned, red rooms means that there's a compliance issue that you need to deal with, because it would be a non-compliance if your officer came in. And yellow room is just a warning, so that there means that there's something kind of that might not be wrong, but something you might need to be aware of, such as mixing age groups, such as if you have a space and you've mixed licenses, sorry, not age groups, mixed licenses. So if you have an OSC licensed children mixed with daycare licensed children in the same space, it's going to just warn you that that's happening. So I'm going to jump over to card view real quick, as opposed to showing you kind of the signing in and signing out in the admin view. For the sake of time, I want to leave questions at the end. And the card view is what you really are going to use to actually sign kids in and out more often, because that's going to be the iPad or tablet friendly view. So we're going to jump over here and kind of show you what it'll look like. Now, along my screen here, because I'm on a computer, you can see that I've got kind of 6 cards across the top row. On an iPad, you won't have 6, you will have 2 cards, just because of the size of the screen, but everything else will be the same. And so I'll just show you in this view essentially exactly what your iPad view and what your room staff are going to see when they're signing children in and out. So on here, you can see that you've got all your different spaces, your physical spaces in the center. So these aren't necessarily groups, so keep that in mind. These are actual physical spaces within your center, physical classrooms. So in accordance with your program plan, what are you licensed to have in your center? And in terms of classrooms and who's allowed, how many kids are allowed to be in there in each classroom, what ages are allowed to be in there, and so on. So a few little handy features is, if you are, let's say you're a staff that is a raccoon staff, And so you're typically in the raccoon staff. Maybe your kids go between raccoons and maybe the gym and the playground, and that's pretty much it. What you can do, and you don't really want to see all these other spaces very often. You probably don't need to see them on your iPad. You can just pin, and this will happen when you log in. You'll be able to see everything that you pin, so everybody can customize it to their own, what works for them. You can pin that room to the top. So now raccoons is pinned to the top. And let's say I want to pin the gym as well, and I want to pin the playground. So those are kind of the main spaces that I use as a raccoon staff. So they're the ones I'm going to want to be really, quick and easy to access for assigning children in and out. So that's a little handy feature. Yeah, so you can see a lot of the same features that I showed you in the other view. You can see we've got all the same kind of icons, the little person waving and so on. And a couple other features I didn't point out was your nap time feature here. So if you click nap, what that will do is it puts this room or this space into essentially so that it's, oh, sorry. I need to refresh that. So that it's already napping. So when you can see the little Z mark means I just created this space, or I told it that it's napping, and that's going to change your ratio requirements in accordance with Alberta licensing. So we know that the napping ratio is different than the non-napping ratio. So now you know when they're napping, the ratio automatically changes, and you can see whether you're in compliant or you have extra staff that you can use elsewhere. So that's a nice little feature, and then of course you can just end the nap. So now let's talk about how do you actually sign children in and out and move them from space to space? So all you need to do is you come in to this view, and with your finger, you're just going to touch the team. So if I want to sign kids into the raccoons room, I'm going to click on or touch with my finger on the iPad, whichever team or group, max group size, I want to sign them into, or I can add a new team if I don't want to assign them into an existing team within that space. So if I click the team here, it's going to bring a screen that looks like this. So in here, you can see these are all of the current students that are signed into that space and the current staff that are signed into that space, well, that team specifically. And a couple of views here. So you're going to have three options. You can add children. So if you want to have children move or sign into this space, you can add them here. You can sign children out with this action, or you can move children. If you're wanting to move these kids, you're all headed to the gym, you can move them to the gym. It's really easy to do. I'll show you those in just 1 second. First, I want to show you a few other handy views in this screen. So first is this little icon here. So whenever you see a icon like this beside a child, and this will be particularly important for substitute teachers, it means that there's something that they need to specifically be aware of with that child. So in this case, it means that there's a specific, you can see the little icon there is a crossed out fork and knife. That's our icon to say that they have a meal preference. So they're not allowed, let's say, pork. When pork's on the menu, you have to switch it out for a different meal, like a vegetarian option or something like that. So if you have that set up at your center, that would be a meal preference. There's other icons that show allergies. So it shows that there's an allergy, or there's a medication that they have on file. There's another icon for that. Or there's an icon for unauthorized pickup. So if you have somebody that has a flagged person, maybe a parent that has a court order that can only pick up on Tuesdays or something like that, that would be a limited pickup authorization or someone you need to be aware of. So that just kind of warns you. So when you see that warning, especially if you're a sub and you're not familiar with that child, you can click into this child, and it's going to show you all of the information that licensing requires your room staff to be able to see. So you don't need extra paperwork and keep papers all updated in the classroom all the time. You can see it right here, all digitally. So in here, you can see, it's a view only screen, so staff can't edit this other than the picture. They can actually choose a photo, take a picture on the iPad or whatnot of the child and upload their photo here. Same with their parents if they want to upload the photo. But other than that, it's a view only, so they can see all the information, school health information, if there was medication on this child, allergies. You can see here the prohibited meal type is seafood in this case. And again, they can click the parent and see the same thing. They can see that this member of the family. They can see what their relationship is, which is a parent in this case, and what is their pickup authorization. They have full pickup authorization. Are they authorized to volunteer? No. If they were, it would have a check mark and the expiry date. Any pickup notes. So let's say, for instance, the status wasn't a legal guardian, or it was a legal guardian with limited pickup authorization. There would be pickup notes saying, you know, they're authorized for Tuesdays and Thursdays, or whatever the case may be. So you can quickly look at that. If they're an unauthorized pickup or a limited pickup, they're going, a flagged person, I should call them, they're going to be red to, again, just for that visual for your staff to know if somebody's in red, you better know what's on their record so that you aren't releasing the child if you're not supposed to be. So that's a handy little view when you click into the team. But now let's jump back to, oh, sorry, one more thing is obviously you can see here their age. So that's their current age at this moment. And you can see here raccoons. So that raccoon symbol, it doesn't mean, what that means is it's their home group or their registered group, whatever group they're registered into. So if you have a group that you use for registration, that's called the raccoons group, and this child's assigned and registered to that group, then you're going to see what group they're registered to. However, it doesn't mean you can't have a child that's registered in a different group that's visiting the raccoons room. So I know often that gets a little confusing because the spaces we often call, you know, raccoons homeroom or something like that, when there's also the actual registration group. So I just want to make sure that that's clear that this is related to their group, not physically where they are at this moment. All right, so let's jump in. So let's say we want to add a student to this group. So we're going to click add. And in here, you can select all the students you want to add. So I can select students here. You can see them here. You can see their home room or their home group, sorry, that they're registered into. You can filter. So let's say I just want to see those kids that are registered in the raccoons group. And I'm going to filter that. And I'm going to, oh, sorry. Go over here and I can click off whoever I want from that filter and sign them in. So I'm going to add these two children. And I'm going to add one more staff. So I want to add, actually, we're going to add Quinn here, who it shows you where they're currently signed in. If they are signed into the center, it'll show you where they are. Quinn currently is signed into the whales, but she's going to move over here to the raccoons group to give somebody a break or something like that at the same time these kids are signing in. And so you can do one child, you can do multiple, however many you want, and then you press next. If they haven't been signed in before, so they were signing into the program for the first time today, you're not just moving them from a different space, you have to say who actually dropped them off. So who was the person that dropped them off. So in this case, you can see that they have 3 different people on their file. One is red, that means they're flagged for whatever reason, just as a visual warning. But let's say this is the parent that dropped off and this is the parent that dropped off. And then you have to also say for a staff, you have to select their tasks. So this is important for compliance again. So in our wage, for the wage top up, certain tasks you receive wage top up for, and other tasks you do not. So you can set up these tasks. These are all custom. So you can set them up to whatever you guys want to track. And your staff, when they sign into different spaces, they can select their task. It's also handy for if you pay differently. So let's say you pay staff a different rate for transporting children versus when they're doing childcare in the rooms. Again, this will track all their payroll hours based on tasks so that then you can pay them for the applicable tasks that they're doing and whatever hourly rate that applies. So it's good for compliance, for wage top up. It's also meant for your payroll hourly rates if they're different for different tasks. So in this case, she's just going to be doing childcare and we're going to sign her in. And that's it. So now they're signed in. There's another staff. Those kids have been added to the room. We still have an extra staff in that room because they're also napping. And then let's say we want to sign out. Just real quick, for the time's sake, I'm going to try to move a little faster here. We're going to click sign out here. And we can, right now it's defaulting to select all. We're actually going to fix that feature. It should default to not having them all selected. And you can select whoever you want to sign out. So let's say Allison is going home, mom's picking up. We're going to select the parent and we're going to click sign out. And so now they are signed out for the day. That is essentially it for for this view. I didn't show you the move option, so you can play around with that if you do a demo or look into that a little bit more. I am just running out of time and I want to leave lots of time for questions. So I want to go through a few other compliance features so we don't spend too much more on attendance specifically. Let's jump over to this dashboard that I mentioned. So in the dashboard, we have a number of features that really help with compliance with licensing and so on. So the first one I want to show you real quick is info changes. So how does information changes? We know that with licensing, we're required to always keep the parents' information, student information up to date. And it can be quite time consuming if you're sending out regular emails or things like that to parents and asking them to, here refill out this form to get all the updated information. Then you have to manually enter all that information or however you do it. In ChildFriendly, it's actually up to the parents. All they need to do is anytime there's a change, they just log into their portal and they make that change. And what happens is it'll come in here, it'll go into kind of pending review form in their portal. So it won't change yet until you've approved that change. So in info changes, your admin staff, see if I have any changes in here. Oh, I don't think I have any student ones. Oh, I do have a student change. There you go. So in the info tab, you can see any student changes that they've made or any member payment info changes or member info changes, meaning parents or guardians, things like that. And so you can go in here, your staff can review them. You can see, okay, let's look at the change. Oh, all they did was they changed their healthcare from that number to that number. And so if you're happy with that and you're good with that, you can approve it. And then it's instantly updated everywhere in the system. Maybe they change an address or something like that. Again, you can approve it or edit and approve, or you can reject it. Maybe they try to remove an address that you require for licensing and you're like, nope, you can't remove that. So you can reject that. And so that's really handy to have. It'll update everywhere. And then I'm going to show you in a minute a portable emergency form that you can still print if you want to print a backup in your office, like a binder of all your emergency information. You can print your forms there to have a physical backup if you want. Another great feature is expiries. So those cursed expiries, we have to track 1 million expiries in daycare, as you are all very well aware. We have crim checks. We've got, if you do formal reviews with your staff, like annual reviews or so on, sponsors, so subsidy expirations, medication expirations, first aid, it goes on and on, the things that we have to make sure to track for many, many people. So this tab here is quite handy. All you do in this tab is you can filter by whichever person you want to see, first of all. So let's say, actually, first, let's just say I want to filter by record type. There's lots of different filters you can use along the top, but let's say I just want to see all of my crim checks. So I'm going to just filter by crim checks. Now I can see in the system every single staff member, their crim check, and when the expiry is coming up. And so you can go through and you can filter if you want to see, like, okay, let's just filter. I want to see for January this month. Hopefully we have them in the demo system. I'm actually not sure if we do for January. I'm going to do December. Let's pretend it's December. I want to see all of my, December expiries. So these are all the people coming up with a criminal record check that are expiring in December. And so now I can go and follow up with all of these staff and update their expiry within the staff module once the new criminal record check comes in. Same thing is true for subsidy. What if I just wanted to see sponsors? So who's got a sponsor, third-party sponsor, such as Alberta Subsidy, that's expiring? Well, these 3 children have an expiring subsidy coming up in December, so I can get on their case and remind them that they need to get that updated. All right, so that's a little preview to expiries. We also have another compliance. Let's just talk about the enrollment process real quick. And I will just mention we have electronic incident reports, illness reports. Those are all required by licensing, and they're all made in accordance with licensing standards. So those can all be done now. I don't have time today to go through them. Same with medication. So no more medication, physical forms all over the place. It's all it's all electronic. It shows you who's upcoming, who's due, and so on. Your staff can come in and complete them. And then it logs all of this information. I'll show you a little report in the report section. So if your licensing officer ever wants to see the records, we've got the records tab there, but there's also a log for incident and illnesses as an example that will show you every incident that you've had. You can do different filters and so on, and then provide that to your officer if they ever need to see that important log. Same with illnesses. So we're going to skip through those as just for time's sake. I'm going to show you enrollment here next. So this has really helped. We used to do all of this in Excel back in the day before we had ChildFriendly. And essentially what this system is, it's what we call our onboarding enrollment system. And again, it helps with making sure that we've collected all of that information we require to have on file for licensing and so on. But real quick, how it works is the parent will go onto your website. We have a registration form that you can embed on in your website. And when they register, after they go through the process, they pay their deposit and so on, they're going to show up here on this onboarding enrollment tab here. And then in this, you can actually, if you scroll over here, it's going to show, well, it's going to show you some important information, their requested start date, for instance, their age on the requested start date and so on, what program they're registered into. The parents don't actually pick the group they get to go into, but your smart registration system will make a suggestion based on what's available and so on. So we're going to scroll over, but here's the important part. It's got a deposit column here. This will automatically check off on when they pay their deposit. So if they pay it online, if you've got that feature, if you've required that they have to pay a deposit online, then when this family registers, it'll check this off that they have paid their deposit. It's also going to automatically check off if they have inputted all of their licensing required information, and this is in accordance with licensing standards. So all of the, they need a minimum for licensing standard of 1 emergency contact pickup person. They need a minimum of their guardian information, all the different things we require them to fill out. If all of that information is filled out and on their profile, and they're kind of pushed to do it because when they register online, it asks for specific information. And so they really don't have a choice. They have to give you that information, but it still checks off and makes sure that you've got everything you're required. And then their bank information. So that'll automatically check off if they've entered their banking information for direct payments and so on. Then what we really love is these handy little, these other columns are all custom. So these ones are default and automatically check off in the system, but these ones here are all custom. And so maybe you want to make sure that every one of your families gets an orientation or a tour. All you do is come over here and you can add or remove custom columns. And I won't do that right now, but you can add as many different columns that you want your admin staff to check off before they complete the onboarding of a new child. Maybe give them a cubby, maybe whatever it is. In this case, we have emergency info. Have you printed the backup, the physical backup of their emergency information to put in the office binder? All that kind of stuff. And then when you're happy and everything's checked off, you can press complete and rest assured that you will not be in any non-compliance for that child because you have all of the items checked off. So just another way to really help. You can also email them. You can deny the enrollment, or you can waitlist them if you don't want to take them or don't have space. So we won't go into any further detail on that one, but I just wanted to show it to you. I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm only going to take another 5 to 10 minutes here to go through a couple little more features to show you. We won't be able to get through all of them, but and then I'm going to leave the rest open for questions. So another kind of attendance related compliance, and actually, yeah, I actually should show you this one. This is an important one. So under attendance, what happens when, and we're not in the attendance module, we're in the dashboard, and there's just a little handy tab here called attendance. And what it is, it's for your admin staff only. And it has all your records. It has a few different features, but the one I want to pull to your attention is the records tab. So this is kind of, you can go under each child and see their individual attendance. Parents can see all their individual attendance, so they know how many subsidy hours and all that stuff. They can see that through their portal. But this records tab really shows you kind of the grand view, the overall view, the bulk view, if you will, of every child that's ever had a sign in, sign out, move, whatever within your system. So it's going to have all of that data and information here. Where does that come in handy? Well, if you have an incident that occurs in one of your rooms and your licensing officer needs to see at exactly the time that that incident occurred, who was signed in, how many were signed in, were you in compliance, whatever they're looking for, you can come in here. And we used to have to, gather different reports and kind of put it all into a report that worked for our licensing officer. But now it's all here at your fingertips. But you can come in here. Let's say the incident happened. Sure, we'll say it happened January 29th, which is today. It looks like we have some sign-ins today, so that works. So we'll do January 29th. You can filter for any date that you want to, or you can do a whole month if you want to. And then there's all these filters, all these little things across the top if you're looking for a specific child and you want to see their entire attendance signing in and signing out for that child, or a bunch of different filters. But for the purposes of this demo, let's pretend we're just looking for the space. So I want to see, I know that the incident happened specifically. It happened in the Ladybug's room, and it happened let's say, the time. You can filter by time here as well. So if you just want to see, let's say, between 8 and 8:30, you could filter here and put that time in. But we don't have very many entries here, so we don't really need to filter for that right now. But let's say it happened at 8:30, 4 in the morning, and you want to see exactly who was in that space. I have this little nice view here. I can click and I can see at that time, at that exact moment, there was one staff and these were all the children signed in. And I can also export this view to a .csv file. So it's nice and handy for licensing. I can see exactly the number of staff here as well that were in the space, how many children, the ratio that was required, the actual ratio that there was. So it's 1 to 6 in this case, and whether they were napping and so on. So all that is at your fingertips for your licensing officer if you ever need it. Another neat feature here on the attendance tab is your staff overtime. So we found with our old system that we were using, often staff would potentially forget to sign out for a break, sign in earlier than they were permitted, and logging the hours, their time when technically their shift hadn't started yet, and those kind of things. And or just forget altogether to sign out, and then it left a lot of admin work for our payroll coordinator at the end of the pay period to kind of go through all of that and make sure that the records look good, and there was a lot of human error and frankly a lot of overpayment because of it. What we have here is this staff overtime tab. And you can come in here. I recommend that the directors kind of do this on a daily or weekly basis or something like that while everything's fresh in their mind in terms of the staff scheduling. But they can come in this tab, and anybody that had actually worked longer than their expected shift, so in the staff module, you'll put in their expected shift. If they worked longer than that shift, they're going to show up here and wait for, and they're going to require your approval. So in this case, you can see these two staff worked quite a bit longer than their shift, 4.5 hours longer. So obviously there was a mistake there. They probably forgot to sign out, or whatever the reason, they didn't sign out for, well, that'd be a long lunch break. So usually it'd be like an hour if it was a lunch break. But you can come in here and you can edit the entry and then approve it, or do whatever you need to make sure that this is accurate. And then that will make this, of course, will generate at the end of the month or pay period. You're going to be able to pull reports to generate your staff hours. And so you'll have that comfort knowing that all of the hours are accurate in that sense. All right. The last item I just wanted to show you was actually, you know what, for the sake of time, I'm not going to. There is reports as well. I talked about a few of them today, but I think for the sake of time, we're going to open it up to questions and go from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. We will now get to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Again, if you will look to the top of the meeting screen there, there's a speech bubble icon with a question mark in it. That's where you can ask all your questions. And for any questions that we don't get to today, we'll follow up with an email and reach out with answers after the presentation. And you can also ask questions as well by reaching out to us via our website or email. Okay, so I have a question here. Does the finance module sync with QuickBooks? And does it use Stripe for credit card payments?
It does, yes. So in the we have a full sync feature for QuickBooks. So every payment, every invoice, everything, every client, customer, when you sync it, will actually come right over to your QuickBooks file and show the exact identical information over there. And as far as payments, yes, our payment providers are Stripe for credit card, and we use Rotessa for your EFTs.
Okay, another question I have here is, will it be available in French?
We do want to add it in French eventually, but it's definitely not going to be available in French with probably not even within this coming year.
Okay. Another question I have is this card layout rolled out to everyone already?
It is being rolled out this week. It's being piloted this week at a number of centers, so not to everybody. But you should be able to expect to see it. I think it's the end of next week, Wayne, is the dev team schedule, I believe. So end of next week, it will be rolled out to everybody.
Okay. In attendance, can we add absences and any type of absence for sick, vacation, excused?
No, we've had a request for this feature before. So of course, if the student doesn't sign in, they're going to be absent that day and the reports will reflect that. But we've had that request to actually be able to put in a reason for why they didn't show up that day. We have a school RSVP system. Maybe I'll just flip over to that real quick here, where parents go in their portal and they can say, hey, Johnny doesn't need pickup today, and it's going, I don't know if we have any filter for a longer date to show you. I don't know if we have any in the demo right now. It doesn't look like I have any entered. A couple more months. Should I go a little further?
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah.
We'll find somebody. There we go. So parents can log into their portal. They can say under their school, they have access to a school RSVP where they can say, hey, don't pick up Johnny today, and they can put up the reasons and so on. Then your busing staff and admin staff can come in here when they're going to go do their busing, and they can see, just filter for the applicable date, and they can see exactly who's expected to be picked up and so on. So you can do that. As far as school pickups, but we don't have that feature for why they didn't attend or why they're not attending that day. It is something that we have on our development map to add, but it is not in place yet.
For the next one, can we add student is in quote staff that do not technically count in ratio? That's an interesting one. I'm not.
Yeah, is that referring to kind of if you want extra staff for maybe behavioral needs or for whatever reason, you can add, I'm hoping I'm understanding that question right, but you can add whichever staff you want. There's no limit on how many staff you can add. It's just that you will, in that attendance screen, let me jump back here. In this attendance screen, if you have extra staff in there that aren't needed for ratio purposes, it will show the little waving person. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always have extra staff, but it will show that there's an extra staff in there. As far as tracking those staff hours, so let's say you need to track for certain third-party organizations, you have to track the hours kind of that they're there when they're working with children because you need to bill accordingly or whatever the reason is. I would just set that up as one of those tasks that I mentioned. So you would just create another task for whatever you want to call it, special needs staff or whatever your contract is or whatever. And when the staff is signed in for that purpose, they could click that task instead of childcare. And that way you're tracking their hours separately and can use that for if you're needing to claim or invoice the government for those hours, depending on what organization you're going through there for that service. Hopefully that was the question or answer to the question.
Great. For the next one, this one's a couple questions combined. What are the initial costs? Are there maintained costs, and is there tech support?
Yeah, okay, a few big questions there. I wonder if I have that. I don't think I do in my presentation. No. Yeah, so the initial cost, we have two different versions that you can get. You can get, I'll open the website. That's probably the easiest way to show this. Under pricing here. So there's two different accounts you can set up. There's the free account, which is our light account, or our pro account, which is our add-on account. So first of all, the free account essentially is free. It comes with everything. So there's no cost, no hidden fees or anything. The only thing that is missing that the pro account has and the free account doesn't is the online, the payment system. So you can track everything and do manual payments and e-transfers and things like that, but you can't do the automatic credit card or pad payments with the free account. If you do the add-on account, how that works is you are essentially paying a merchant fee, and it's a 1% plus 30 cents per transaction merchant fee on any automatic pad payments that you process for parents. Credit card payments is higher, of course, 3.75 is the merchant fee plus the 30 cents transaction. We do have a really neat, if you do decide you want to do the add-on account so that you can have ACH payments or pad payments and credit card payments, this save more with fee pass-through. So this feature is really handy in that you can actually pass on that merchant fee to your families. And then when they pay, if they don't want to pay it, they can always e-transfer and pay nothing. But if they want to have the convenience of automatic payments, then then the merchant fee actually is charged to them. So in that sense, if you do that, then you pay nothing. And the software would be completely free if you're passing that through. And it all happens automatically. So there's no admin for you. That merchant fee automatically gets reconciled, that gets recorded, all of that automatically happens for you. And what else was in that question, Wayne?
Tech support.
Yeah, tech support. So if you are logged into your system, you are going to see this little bottom handy little icon there. And you can contact us anytime. We do have hours. I believe it's 9 to 5. That you can contact sales if you're asking kind of a feature question or support. And there will be a live agent there, not a bot, to assist you. And they're very, very good at getting back to people, well, instantly. It's live support and they'll help you out. We also have the kind of two packages for onboarding. So right now we have a promo going. We have kind of the white glove service, if you will. And what that is we will essentially do all of your setup for you. There'll be an onboarding meeting that you have with our onboarding specialists. They'll go through your program plan, your rates, everything that they require, and then they will go through and do all of the setup for you in the setup module, get everything, upload your children, get it all kind of done. You don't have to really lift much of a finger at all. And then they will do an orientation meeting with you to just take you through it once it's all ready to go. And so there's that service. Normally we charge, I think it's $1,000 a center for that service. However, right now we do have a promo going where there is no charge for that service. So we definitely highly recommend that one. The other setup or onboarding option is self-setup. So you can always just log in if you're kind of more independent in that way and you prefer doing it yourself. You can always create an account. You can do it right from our website. Create the account and go to the setup module and start entering your groups and your rates and ratios and all the different things you need to do, set up policies, everything like that, because even that's all digitized for signing parent handbooks and all of that is all digital. And then if you do it that way, we are still there to support you. So you can contact support anytime and we can help you, and you will have a specialist, an onboarding specialist that kind of checks in on you, sees how you're doing, but that's more of a self-setup feature where we're not doing it all for you.
For the next question, is there staff vacation request or vacation payment tracking?
Vacation payment tracking, no. So Right now, we have had that request a number of times, including with my own centers. It's definitely on our list. It's a really important feature, but no, we do not. Obviously, if they're an hourly staff and they're not logging in their hours, you're not going to see hours that they didn't work there. But we don't have kind of a separate system for tracking the vacation.
The next one is a question about the parent portal. How do parents access their portal? Is it in the app, the website, or both? Can we see a preview of what they see in the portal?
Yes, I don't have that handy here, but if you set up a demo or book a demo, we can certainly give you a full view of exactly what the parents see. Essentially, though, it is both an app and a desktop version, so it's the same thing in either one. It just is, slightly different user interface on the app than it would be on the desktop, but same idea. And what they can see in there is they can see their journal entries. So any reports that you're sending them throughout the day, pictures, videos, attachments, whatever. You can see all of that. You can see all their ledgers, their financial ledgers, all of their obviously information, personal information, child's information, the child's attendance. What else can they see? They can make payments on there. They can do their year-end tax receipts directly from there. There's another compliance thing I failed to mention, that they can, grab those themselves if they want. Print receipts, all of that kind of stuff is there in both the app and the other version. They can also see at any moment where exactly their child is in the center. So if they're in the gym, they're coming to pick up at the end of the day, they're not at their homeroom, they're actually in the playground. It's really handy because parents see that right on the home screen and they know to go directly to the playground or whatnot.
Okay. The next question, does it work offline? We're outside a lot and our Wi-Fi would not reach with the iPads.
Oh, yes. No, you do need internet, unfortunately. You would need to get a booster or something like that if you're wanting to use it in the play yard. It does require online. You could still, Wayne, you have to correct me here if I'm wrong. Can you log in and see kind of the old view? Probably not, hey? I think it requires internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you would need full access to the internet to use it. It is a cloud-based product, so it's all instantly updated and real time.
For the next questions, can parents check their own child in and out of the app, or is that admin or teachers only?
So you can set it up either way. It really depends on how your center does it. So what we recommend is having the teachers do it, and then anyway, we recommend having the teachers do it and just not kind of bother the parents with it. There's nothing in licensing that requires you to have the parents check in. It's just you do have to just put who dropped off or who picked up, which your teacher can do that, as I showed you earlier. So we feel like that's the easiest way, and then there's never any errors or somebody dropping off, at the front office and claiming that they've been signed in by signing in on a little kiosk. But then, what happens between then and when the staff actually takes or receives the child in the room, that's always the big kind of transition where you could run into issues there. However, that's what we recommend. However, you can still set it up if you do a more traditional approach, which is the kiosk approach. Parents, you just sign in at a kiosk at the front or whatnot, and you have your room set up there, and they just select what group they're signing them into. And then the student gets signed in that way. So that's this little kiosk feature here. But yeah, you can do that approach if you prefer.
For the next question, is there a PD day registration option or daycare drop-in? If so, on the admin side, can you limit the amount?
Limit the amount. I'm not quite sure. Maybe explain a little bit what you mean by that last sentence. Can you limit the amount? As far as drop-ins, yes, you can add drop-in rates and you can have children just drop in for days. That we have that all set up. Again, if you book a demo, especially if you let your demo specialist, you'll get an email when you book a demo saying, is there anything specific, question specific, things we can help you with, so we can kind of tailor that demo to specific questions you have, and they can show you exactly how drop-in and those kind of rates work. I'm not quite sure on the last part of that question.
She just said just registration example 45 spots. So I think we're talking about the capacity. Oh.
Oh, yes. Yes, you definitely can limit how many spaces that people can register for. So that's all in setup. So you can create different programs and groups, put in their capacity. And so you're never going to have, we would have thousands of children registered if it was just unlimited capacity. But yeah, it's all limited by how you do it in setup.
Great. I think those are all the questions we have. Yeah, does anyone else have any more questions, or we'll be wrapping up the webinar? Give them maybe a minute here.
Perfect. If there's any more, you feel free to drop them in. Maybe I'll just take the last, we have 3 minutes left. So
Sure.
I will see if there's any other little features that I wasn't able to get to. And reports, I wanted to show you just some cool, handy reports. So the one report I did mention was the emergency report. So with licensing in Alberta, they're fine with everything being digitized, including, believe it or not, incident reports and all of that, as long as it has the signature, which it does in ChildFriendly. However, you still require in your office a physical backup. So in your office space, you're going to want a binder that has alphabetical order of the kids or however you want to organize it. And whenever there's an information change or an update, you're going to want to print the portable emergency form and stick it in that binder, just in case there was a fire, you didn't have internet, whatever the case may be, you have that emergency physical backup. So that will still be, it's one of the few things that you can't digitize. That licensing still required. So in that, I'm just going to quickly show you how that works, because we don't want you spending a bunch of time making portable records every time there's an update or a change to a child file. And it is under, I can't even remember, is it safety reports, I believe? Yeah, safety reports. And then under emergency info here, you can specifically look up the group you're looking for. So if I'm looking for my Dragons group, and I can see all my Dragons group records, I can bulk select if I just want to print the entire room at once, or I can just select a couple, however you want to do it, and you can generate the PDF. And what that'll look like here is this. So you'll have a portable emergency form. Every child will be on their own page, so that you can nicely print them and then stick them in that binder, but it'll have all of that licensing required information on it that you need to have it on as backup. So that was one, and we're out of time. So I guess that's all I'm showing you.
Awesome. Just one last question.
Sure.
Here's, I was just wondering what the chat bubble on the top right is. So I guess the instant messaging feature, if you want to point that out quick.
Yeah, the chat bubble is instant messaging with your family. So of course, as I mentioned, there's emails, you can email them, but this actually goes to their portal. It's not a text message, it's a direct to their portal communication. And in it, you can bulk message families. We find just a lot of families prefer instant messaging over email, although you can still, of course, email. And so anyway, there's different ways you can filter here if you want to look at specific families and so on, send bulk messages. But essentially, you can see here that this is a bad example because it's a bunch of demo tests saying hi, back and forth. But anyway, that's just their kind of feed, a lot like text messaging, but to the portal.
Great.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's everything. Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys,
Thank you everyone for
yeah,
attending.
Thanks, everyone. Great. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.